Welcome to Front Porch Forecast. Today is Monday, July 21st, and man, is it a warm one. I should say hot. It is hot across the board. We do have some heat advisories, some extreme heat warnings, some red flag warnings. We have heat across the board, and unfortunately, this week, nothing much is going to change in the heat. There's not going to be any storms that will roll through to cool us off, no cold fronts to kind of give us relief. But we are at the end of July. We are almost into August. This is nothing new. Near the end of the summer, we do get this heat pocket, and we are just miserable, waiting for fall, begging for fall temperatures to come through. But heat is going to be our primary focus for this video. We do have some severe storms popping up, and I will cover those as well. But mainly, heat is our biggest culprit, I guess you could say. Most of the area today under a heat advisory. A lot of the southeast, central plains, west coast, you're not under a heat advisory as much as you were last week, but those temperatures are still going to be pretty warm for you, okay? Your typical July temperatures on the west coast, California, Oregon, New Mexico, Arizona, the typical you'll experience. Now, we do have a red flag warning, which is that kind of fuchsia pink up there in Nevada and Utah. That means that these dry thunderstorms will be coming through and lightning could strike a tree and potentially cause a wildfire. So please be careful, use caution when having fires, bonfires, whatever you do. Extinguish your cigarettes. Make sure you do not aid in the cause of a wildfire in these areas. The area is dry. We have some drought conditions that could potentially lead to damaging and deadly wildfires in the area. Now, as we look over back into the Central Plains, Southeast, Ohio Valley, a little bit of Midwest as well, we see Illinois and Iowa, a little bit of Missouri. You are under a extreme heat watch. That last storm that pushed through this weekend, it made you hot. You have heat and warmth, and it's just not going to go away. So be sure to stay hydrated. If you're outside, if you're playing sports, if you're doing anything outdoors, make sure you're hydrated. You know the signs of heat stroke, you know the signs of heat exhaustion, and just stay safe because heat is no joke. Now looking at our SPC, our Storm Prediction Center, we do have a slight risk for severe storms on the stronger side in Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota for today. Now, these storms are going to be primarily later on in the afternoon, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., kind of right as the sun is setting, or when these storms are kind of building up energy and going to sweep through those areas. Now, for tomorrow, the SPC does have a slight risk for Minnesota, a little bit of Wisconsin, South Dakota, North Dakota, again, as that storm system kind of shifts eastward into the Midwest area. Now, these storms are going to be early Tuesday morning more than the afternoon, that they will be on the stronger side. Large hail, strong winds, the typical severe thunderstorm categories. Now, these storms could possibly spin up a tornado or two. So we do want to keep an eye on that for Tuesday morning for that area. Now, as we go into Wednesday, it continues to kind of shift more into Wisconsin, more into the Great Lakes area as it's moving eastward through this front. Once again, those areas are going to have chances of damaging wind, large hail, lightning, flash flood warnings. These areas have been getting a lot of rain lately. I feel like I've been talking about these states, the same states, for the last few weeks. They're going to continue to get this rain and abundance of water. So flash flooding is possible in these areas for the next 3 days. Now, unfortunately, the bad news is all this rain is not going to provide any relief, really, from the heat. The heat is still sweeping across all of the United States. We are going to have a hot week. So be prepared for that. These storms are unfortunately not going to give as much as relief as we wish they would. But once again, I mentioned it before, we're at the end of the summer. Nothing new, nothing out of the ordinary for what we expect for temperatures for the end of July, almost into August, okay? Now, I did want to get a better breakdown of time frames of these storms for this afternoon into tomorrow and also for Wednesday, like we talked about at the SPC section. Now, this right here is around 7 p.m., 8 p.m., kind of sunset area. We see a little bit over here in Montana starting up with some storms. So later on in the afternoon, as you're going into you're home from work and you're figuring out dinner, that's when you're going to start to see the storms start to pop up. And then they begin to strengthen the later on we get into the night. Now, as we go throughout the night, North Dakota and South Dakota, you're going to start to see some of these severe storms kind of push through, primarily in North Dakota, but some are also going to be in South Dakota as well. So I didn't want to rule that out. Make sure you know. Now, this right here is Tuesday morning. This is about 7 a.m., 8 a.m., right as you're getting ready to get ready for work. Get ready for your commute in the morning. Be weather aware if you are in the east side of North Dakota or if you're on the northern half of Minnesota. These are going to be the areas that are going to be impacted by these strong, severe storms that the SPC has that slight risk for. As we continue on into the day, this is 1 p.m. It's starting to make its trek over past Wisconsin into the Great Lakes. Now, I do want to point out right here, we have this right here starting to pop back up because we thought maybe those other storms had already pushed through, but this next line of storms is going to start sweeping through Minnesota, Wisconsin, and kind of pushing into the Great Lakes as well. So let's watch that. That is going to be, this is Tuesday afternoon, 6 p.m., 7 p.m., and we start to see them get more energy, increase in severity, increase in strength as it's going to push across Minnesota. Once again, the northern part of Minnesota is the main part that's going to get most of those severe storms. If you're in the southern part of Minnesota, you might get some lingering storms that pop up that could be on the stronger side, but primarily it's northern Minnesota. As we go into Wisconsin, this is later on the afternoon, 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., kind of around sunset time again for Wisconsin as it is tracking towards the Great Lakes. Now, the whole state of Wisconsin is going to experience some sort of strong storms, primarily in the northern part. The northwestern part is going to be where the most severe is, but you do have some pop-ups a little bit later on down here as well. So keep that in mind as you are planning your Wednesday. If you have any activities outside for Wednesday, be sure to keep in mind the weather is going to be a little bit stronger on the severe side for your storms as we go into Wednesday afternoon. Now, Michigan might get a little bit of that as we go to Wednesday, but primarily for today, let's kind of recap it. I know I talked a lot about a lot of things. For today, we have Montana. That is going to have most of these storms later on around sunset, 7 p.m., 6 p.m. They're going to move over into North Dakota, South Dakota, and then we're going to continue on into Minnesota for early morning tomorrow, Tuesday morning. Then as that moves over in the afternoon, we're going to get closer to the Great Lakes, a little bit right here into northern Wisconsin there. And then we're going to see another line of storms pop up right here in Minnesota Tuesday afternoon, and then it's going to continue eastward. And as we go into Wednesday, Minnesota into Wisconsin, Wisconsin's going to get most of that as we go into the Great Lakes, and Michigan might get a little bit of the remnants as well. If you have any questions about any of the things that I've gone over today, be sure to comment them. I might not be clear in some of the things that I am trying to demonstrate in some of these videos. So please, comment, let me know if I'm talking too much, if I'm, confusing you, talking about too many things. But I just wanted to kind of break it down by time frame for these severe storms for today, this afternoon, into Tuesday, and into Wednesday as we have a hot week. Unfortunately, these storms are not going to cool us down in those regions, but we will remain in these heat advisories and watch out for flood warnings to pop up into these areas as well as these severe storms come through. We can't rule out a spin-up tornado or two across any of those states that I mentioned today. So just be weather aware, stay aware, up to date on your weather forecast for your local area, okay? Now, I did want to talk a little bit about tropical activity just because I'm a hurricane nerd, and that's kind of my favorite topic when it comes to atmospheric science, when it comes to meteorology. Hurricane research is one of my favorites. But we did have this tropical disturbance, had a 20% chance over the weekend of formation. It has gone down to a 10% chance of formation. So I believe we don't have anything to worry about tropical activity-wise for the next week. Possibly two. We'll see how the weather goes and how these weather patterns progress. But I do not believe we have any issues in the tropics at the moment. Hopefully you enjoyed the forecast. Unfortunately, we're going to have hot weather today. But if you enjoy the content, you want to follow along for updates on your weather for your region, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell notification as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you next forecast.